As you look forward then into 2024, I wanted to ask you a bit about trends and what you see either continuing or maybe some new things.
Pre-pandemic, you could almost travel by numbers. Like you paint by numbers. You could go and everything was a given, right? You could almost set your clock by it and think things would always fall in line. Travel is again an adventure. And the first thing I think travelers should do is embrace that, right? The fact is, if restaurants don't have enough staff, they're going to feed you, but it might take longer. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just different, and don't have an expectation of what it was. Embrace what it is, and it is. Travel today is just. It's kind of what must have been like in the 50s. It's not a given. Yeah, well, it's an adventure, and it should be. I mean, that's what we should do, and that's where we are there to iron out the kinks. But don't get mad by it. Do you know what I mean? We got to fix it. You're going to have a great time, and so the people you're going to meet are still going to be soulful. They're going to be real and enjoy it. I mean, that's what you're there for.
One of the questions that I wanted to ask you about was what change has happened that you think will stick or won't, and what's important, and I think sustainability is one of these things, but
I would agree. 2023 was really a foundational year for the recovery of tourism. I think what we discovered in 2023 was a genuine understanding of how much we mistraveled during the pandemic. It was so powerful to see, and we were, because of the way we approached our business, we were unbelievably fortunate back in 2022 moving into 2023, where some of our guests were the first to go into destinations post-pandemic. We were the first going into the Portugals of the world. We had the first guests with Brendan going into Ireland. So and what we found, Carolyn, which was so remarkable, and it truly energized not only me but the entire team, was almost that youthful bliss energy that came with people rediscovering travel today. And so I think for our travelers and our guests, it was unbelievably powerful. Secondarily, I think the other thing that occurred was from a government perspective as well. They too realized how important the travel sector and industry is for travel. You can't, and I think there was a real fundamental beginning to understand that you cannot just take a paintbrush and paint everyone in the same color. There actually is a genuine power to travel if it's done correctly.
Something that I'm very interested in is how do we help people become better travelers?
What has been intriguing to us, Carolyn, is what we've begun to see is consumers are unbelievably aware of the importance of creating sustainable travel. What has resonated with us is the fact that, and understandably, they don't want to pay for it. And we're not asking them to do that. What I think is important to appreciate, though, is if that is important to them, they should really be thinking about what it is they get from their travels. And to me, there are a couple of key imperatives. First and foremost, travel should be as positive for the visitor as it is for the visited. So, if you are there, make sure, as we call tread. It's not tread light, tread right. Be respectful, be understanding. This is their culture. Really go out of your way to try and learn more and embrace their differences. Yeah. Number two is the fact that we've got to look as travel as to how can you go and make travel about a place you go 365 days a year. And you said it far more eloquently than I could about you going on the Insight trip, where you go in the month of October, the weather's actually better, the prices are better. It checks so many other boxes, and people should just begin to broaden their perspectives and minds and think very differently about it, because the power of travel is that of being able to be a force for good. And that is why when and obviously you're aware of our Make Travel Matter experiences. This is today across every single one of our trips around the world, there's at least one Make Travel Matter experience where on that trip it is going to be a force for good for somebody individually, directly and impactfully. And those are the types of things that people should, and our guests should be excited and energized by. And, these are the changes that we really are bringing into our business. And, we obviously reach out to our guests to embrace them and come on the journey with us.
Well, and also in having those Make Travel Matter experiences, you're kind of training people to think about that, even if they don't travel with you, right? So, when you go, you kind of, it's kind of a behavior or a mindset that you can teach so that others think about these things when they do travel and make it important for us as travelers. With all this change and all these shifts that have been happening, I want to ask you what surprised you the most, but I also am curious what has frustrated you the most as a tour operator.
During the pandemic, everybody made all these big promises of how they were going to do things differently when they came out of it. And I was astounded to see how so many did nothing and they came back and did the same dumb stuff that they were doing before. They saw the surge in demand as one which they saw as an opportunity to be more successful in a singular year rather than have a long-term perspective. And travel is always about the long term.
It's interesting because I was speaking with someone yesterday about what's happened in the world with the level of fear that exists and how has that transferred into travel, because it feels to me like we are more fearful of things now than we were before. And I'm one of those people that's cut off my cable TV because I just don't want to have all the negativity from that anymore. But how do you, I guess it's not a question, it's more of an observation. And I think that going on tours is actually a really great way for women to, kind of overcome that fear as a first step, that they can go on a tour and they can have everything looked after. And my hope, and this is why I love working with Trafalgar and the different brands at TTC, is that we will get more women more confident out there traveling more often, but also with a more intentional mindset. I think that's really important. And you talk about off-season travel, completely agree on that. We've seen that in our research and our surveys. Most of our audience is traveling in the off-season. It's not just more authentic, it's a way to save money and longer travel periods and all of that. But I think some of these are good shifts, right?
Karen, and if I can go back to the trepidation within travel itself, and it comes in many forms. And the fact is today, the logistics involved in travel are difficult. There's no doubt about it. And so the first thing, as you said, with our 103 years knowledge of expertise, we are the experts in destination, and we ensure that you can go and just be. And that is very, very important to us. That is one of our core founding principles that we have. And so when we talk about the well-being of our guests, is being front and center of everything we do. Those are not just words; they are embedded into. We talk about being driven by service. It's the core foundation to why we exist. And you can see it right under our logo. So, we get that, right? And we are proud that we can make it happen. The second part of that trepidation, it's not just that of what do you do, around logistics, and you said cutting off cable TV because of all the noise that bombards us. It's also the complexities that come with travel. Everybody now says, "Oh, I want to make a connection. I want to do something sustainable." If you were going to live in a country for 6 months, you would meet the locals, right? But you can't exactly just show up and go knock on people's doors. You can't, and so there isn't. The desire to make it real is understood, and there is a trepidation. If I go, is it just going to be superficial? Mm-hmm. And obviously that is where we pride ourselves, in being able to make travel powerful and make travel impactful. My point to the industry, and there are a few things that are givens. Number one is, if we don't change, we are going to be legislated to change. And I can promise you, governments do not understand our industry, and they will make travel harder to do than any of us could ever imagine. So first of all, if you want not just sustainable travel, but you want a sustainable business model, you should be adapting and thinking creatively. Number two is exactly what you said. Sustainable travel should be about all of us working collaboratively together. How do we ensure that all us as an industry work together in step, so we all define what this means? Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, if we have one set of criteria and one of our competitors has a different set of criteria, if a hotel has a third set of criteria and ocean cruises have a whole other set, what ends up happening is nobody has any idea what this all means. Mm-hmm. And it becomes confusing. And so Shannon, and as you said, she is extraordinary in everything she does. And so in our conversations, she said, for our industry, she's really going to take this on and reach across and in a completely, and you see, obviously, we have our impact report. We publish what we do completely transparently. Yeah. And that is what our intent is. This is not about what's right for us. It's what is right. And that is what we are trying to do, and get everyone to come on the journey. And it's not to say that we've got all the answers, but let's work collaboratively to actually define some of these answers.
One of the things, what I want to do at JourneyWoman is really use JourneyWoman as a platform for sustainable travel. So even having this debate of, do we need a sustainable travel tab on our website? I'm like, no, it's all sustainable. Like we just have to, that has to be the way we view all travel. It's not even like a drop-down menu item anymore. It's just, it just is.